What's up, it's Marco, Sage of Soccer, and today I'll be doing my preview of the US men's national team game against Wales. It's the US's first World Cup game since 2014, I think we're all really excited about it. Wales is a very interesting team that I think can cause us a lot of problems, but I think we have a very good chance of winning this. For Wales themselves, we're actually very unlucky to draw them. They're currently ranked 18th in the world, and we're only pushed to being a pot 4 team as their qualifier was delayed. This makes our group extremely highly ranked, though rankings aren't everything, and Wales is a very beatable team, as shown by them getting relegated from Nations League A. Though they were relegated in large part due to preparing for that qualifier and not taking those games as seriously, they still haven't won a game since their victory in World Cup qualifying against Ukraine in June. Wales have actually played the US relatively recently in late 2020, our first friendly post-lockdown, actually the first US game I covered on this channel. Though Gareth Bale, Ramsey, and Christian Pulisic all missed this game, and the teams have changed a bit since then. This was a 0-0 draw where the US had more of the ball and kept Wales' attack at bay, though I should say that Sean Brooks was a big part of our defensive performance. Our attack was slowed down in part due to Lletget starting up front and Conrad de la Fuente still being a very raw young player, and I have to imagine it'll be a little bit similar if we play it with another false 9. But we showed a lot of good things against Wales that game, and I think it shows that this is a pretty even matchup. It is pretty easy to defeat Wales. It's been shown by all the teams in Nations League A, and Wales, they have a lot of men behind the ball. They play a very defensive 5-2-3, maybe a 5-3-2, but more than likely a 5-2-3 with only a 2-man midfield. What they do is they make the space very congested and make it tough to break down. But if we're able to move the ball very quickly and have our players move off the ball, it'll drag Wales' defenders out of position, leaving openings in their defense for our players to exploit. And then once we do that, all we have to do is find a good pass and finish that chance. Though that is very easier said than done. We still need to move the ball quickly, and there are many players in the team who just can't do that. In addition, one mistake in possession leaves us open on the break, and we'll also have some dynamic attackers who are willing to punish us. Even if we can play them evenly, Wales have a lot of very talented players on the ball, guys like Ramsey, Harry Wilson, Ethan Ampadu, who can be dangerous as well. Wales' starting lineup is somewhat predictable. I think there are 6 positions that are locked, and another 4 that are basically interchangeable. In goal will likely be Danny Ward. It could be Wayne Hennessy, who had a very good performance in World Cup qualifying, though Hennessy's just been a backup all year, while Danny Ward, who largely was a backup keeper his entire career, now has a starting job at Leicester City. Kasper Schmeichel left and Danny Ward became the starter. He had a very rough start that got me pretty excited about the prospect of facing Wales, but he rebounded and turned into a very solid shot stopper, and he's shown that he's a Premier League level keeper. He's not anything special, we can get the better of him, but he is going to be solid. At center back, there's a back 3. Wales will certainly have Ben Davies and Joe Rodon starting. Ethan Ampadu will be on the field, though it could be either as a center back or in the midfield. I think he's likely to play in the midfield, meaning Chris Mepham would start. Of those center backs, Ben Davies is the best. He's been a very good player for Tottenham, showing himself to be a Champions League level center back, which I don't think many people expected with him being kind of an all-right left back, but under Conte, he's really flourished. He's left-footed, he can play out of the back, he gets up for headers, and he's the one defender on this Wales team that can really kill attacks, and he can also launch them on a break. He's good on the ball from his time at left back, and somebody who's very dangerous. Ethan Ampadu is another dangerous player, extremely technical, solid defensively, and he gets up for headers. He's got a great vertical. He's impressed in Italy this season, and he might get a chance for Chelsea next year. He's a very talented player, whether he plays in midfield or in defense. And there's Joe Rodon, who is, in my opinion, the weakest defender for Wales. He was loaned out by Tottenham to Rennes, and Rennes is having a very good season in Ligue 1, but he hasn't been playing many games for them recently. He's another defender who's good on the ball, but he lacks the quickness of the other defenders and is going to be much less match sharp. Chris Mepham has been very good for Bournemouth this year, though being good for a team like Bournemouth isn't the toughest thing in the world, and he was a part of that 9-0 loss to Liverpool. He's more of a no-nonsense center back than the other ones, and again, he isn't much of an athlete, but he is sound defensively in a defensive team. I think aside from Ben Davies, though, none of these defenders are elite and can easily be beaten by the good movement and one-on-one play, and I think we can get the better of this defense. At wingback, there will be Connor Roberts and Neco Williams. Roberts has been pretty good for Burnley in the Championship, though he was mediocre in the Premier League for them last year. He's in decent form. He's had 3 goal contributions since October, and is part of Burnley's very strong season under Vincent Kompany. But I think against attackers like Pulisic, Aronson, Weah, Reyna, and all the guys that we have, I think he'll be a bit out of his depth and somebody we can exploit. Then there's Neco Williams, who'll be on the left. Despite being right-footed, he's pretty quick and he makes good attacking moves. He was able to fill in for Trent Alexander-Arnold for Liverpool, and obviously not doing as good of a job, but they felt confident in him. He's now in the Premier League, and I'd say he's probably about as good as Jedi Robinson. He's a young player, and his defense isn't perfect, but he has Ben Davies behind him to help cover, and I think he's a very good player. Into the midfield, and in the midfield too, I think we can expect to see Aaron Ramsey. He's far from the player that he used to be, but he's still playing consistently for Nice and Ligue 1. He can still make magic happen and might be the most technical player on the field this game. He has some good work rate defensively and can still make that crucial pass and pop up with goals. He's much slower than he used to be, though, and Weston McKennie forced him out of Juventus. I think we have a better midfield in this Wales team. Alongside him, I'm expecting Ethan Ampadu, but it could be Joe Allen, the Welsh Xavi, if anybody remembers that. He can be all right defensively and keep the ball in possession, but let's not kid ourselves. He's not a great player. He's been out since September due to injuries, and if he's in the team sheets, great news for us. Harry Wilson could also play, and if he plays, it'll be a three-man midfield. He was kind of elite in the championship last year. He had 20 assists, and he's gotten more minutes in the Premier League since returning from injury. He's a quick and creative attacker who, an insane 20 assists in the championship, and I personally consider our defense to be high championship, low Premier League quality, and that's a dangerous player for us. I think it's going to be Aaron Ramsey and Ethan Ampadu in the midfield. Ampadu will do a lot of defensive work, allowing Ramsey to get further forward. Though I will say, this midfield, they only have 2 players in them, and I think that the USA will be able to dominate possession like they did last game against Wales. I should say that is part of their tactics, that they do want the other team to have more of the ball so they can counter on the break, but I think even if they wanted to keep the ball against us, I don't think they'd be able to. Then we have Wales' attack, which is an extremely dangerous part of the team filled with crazy mismatches. We all know about Gareth Bale, and when I look at the team, I don't see too many great players. I still think it's, like I said before, low Premier League, high championship level, but every player in this attack is just so dangerous with either elite athleticism or crazy height, and that makes them extremely dangerous. First, let's talk about Gareth Bale, Wales' main man. He's a legend of the game and probably the greatest player in this group, and it's a group that contains Harry Kane. He isn't the player that he was in 2018, 2014, but he still has great moments in him, as my Philadelphia Union know. In addition, he had 2 great games for Wales recently, getting them to the World Cup, and he seems to always turn up for them. Bale was probably the best athlete in soccer at his peak, and he still has a very good vertical. His pace is a question, and I mean, a serious question. I don't know, because I don't think he sprinted once while he played for LAFC, and he'll still end up being a legend for them. He's lethal on set pieces, an amazing free kick, and a great goal scorer. He's Wales' biggest threat by far. Then there's Daniel James and Brennan Johnson, 2 extremely quick wide men. Both have just electric pace and a bit of an eye for goal. James had a bit of a weak season so far. He got loaned out to Fulham, though he did just score against Manchester United. Brennan Johnson has looked good for Wales recently and been part of a Nottingham Forest team that I think is overachieving, despite not being great. I think only one of them starts and the other comes off the bench, and I don't think it really matters who. I think James is probably a bit better of an athlete, Brennan Johnson a bit more lethal of a goal threat, though, again, I think you could kind of interchange them. There's a chance that both start, and if they do, that could cause our defense a lot of problems, though I'm expecting the 6'5" Kieffer Moore to start at striker. Just dominant in the air. He scored 3 goals in his last 3 games. He'd be a huge mismatch for any of our defenders, and most of our defenders, their biggest strength is in the air, and I think Moore has a bit of an edge on them. He's somebody that we have to be worried about, and his height makes him a constant threat. He can score goals for Wales, and he's not even a bad finisher in the box. I wouldn't say he's elite, but again, just being a good championship-level player is good enough to score against this U.S. team. I think that Wales will start Danny Ward in goal, go with Ben Davies, Joe Rodon, and Chris Mepham in defense, Neco Williams and Connor Roberts at wingback, Aaron Ramsey and Ethan Ampadu in midfield, and I'm expecting Gareth Bale, Brennan Johnson, and Kieffer Moore up top. I think that Davies, Ampadu, Williams, Ramsey, Roberts, and Bale, they're probably locks for the team. Then, if Wayne Hennessy starts instead of Danny Ward, I don't think that really causes, too much of a difference. Like, aside from Kieffer Moore or one of James or Johnson being up top, or maybe Harry Wilson being part of a midfield three, I don't think it really changes how Wales plays. For the US, it's tough to predict the team due to fitness, injuries, and, Gregg. I think Matt Turner is very likely to be in goal. He's been amazing for us, just a consistent, amazing keeper, but he is just returning from injury, and he hasn't played too much. I don't know if we can expect him to be at his best, which might end up hurting us because Matt Turner has bailed us out a ton with him being in amazing form, and if he's not at his best, that could be a bit of a worry. At center back, it looks like Walker Zimmerman will be one starter, and alongside him, I was expecting to see Long. I'm hearing rumors of Tim Ream training with the first team. I don't know what to think of that because Long has been our starter for a very long time. Like, since June, he's started every game, and Tim Ream hasn't been involved with the squad in this entire calendar year. But it could be either. I think that Walker Zimmerman, he's solid enough, but I think his lack of pace and weak ability on the ball could hurt us. Tim Ream's lack of pace will certainly be exposed if he starts, though he will be alongside Jedi Robinson, who will help cover for that lack of speed, and Aaron Long's everything will be a disaster. At fullback, Jedi Robinson will be on the left, but it could be either Dest or Yedlin on the right. I'll get into that a bit later. Jedi, I feel very confident in. In his last game against Wales, he dealt with their pace extremely well. It was Matundo, I believe, who was starting, but he is just as dynamic of an athlete as a James and as a Johnson, and I feel very good about Jedi Robinson's ability to lock down this team. And going forward, we'll have to see how good he can be, but I think Jedi's a player who we're not concerned about. We know he'll do a job. Then on the right, we have Sergiño Dest, who's currently dealing with an injury, and it appears that Yedlin is the current backup. We know that Dest has his weaknesses defensively, though I'll be honest, I kind of think he's better defensively than at least Shaq Moore and DeAndre Yedlin. Dest, he's got lethal attacking play. I think with Wales being a very defensive squad, him being in the team would be crucial for us. He's great on the ball. He can help us move the ball quickly, which is what we need to break down this team. And he can create individual moments of magic, which I think will be necessary for the team. Yedlin is fast. That's kind of it with his game. He's not great defensively, and I think he can get beat by either James or Johnson pretty easily. I think their movement and their on-ball dribbling will be a big issue for Yedlin. And I'm really hoping that Dest starts, because Yedlin, if he is playing, then his lack of technical ability will really hurt us in the attack. I mentioned moving the ball quickly a lot, and if the ball goes to Yedlin, he's going to have to take another one or two touches than he needs to, and that'll kind of kill any of the momentum in our attack. It's the same with Walker Zimmerman and definitely Aaron Long, which is why I really wanted to see Cameron Carter-Vickers, Joe Scally, honestly, John Brooks get a lot more time with this team. Then the midfield, it should be our MMA midfield of Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and Yunus Musah. Adams has been very good in the Premier League. He's shown a lot of ability defensively, and he's been very good for Leeds. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a big move coming up, especially if he has an amazing World Cup. But he doesn't really excel as the lone six, and we've seen him make a couple of mistakes in that position, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. Weston McKennie, I've said it before, I think he's our best player when he's in form, but he's just returning from injury, and when he's out of form, he has a lot of mistakes in him. We saw them in that September window, and I'm a little bit concerned about Weston McKennie. Yunus Musah is an amazing player, will certainly be a starter for us in 2026, but at 19, you have to wonder if he's going to be ready for the World Cup. That being said, I think our midfield will relatively easily dominate possession. And while I do think that's what Wales wants, I think we'd be able to do that against Wales no matter what. I will say that we have to turn that possession into chances, and Wales will capitalize off of mistakes. And I think every midfielder in our team has mistakes in them. As that more of a deep-lying playmaker that Gregg likes to use Tyler Adams as, he's not really accustomed to that role, and I think he will give the ball away a bit. Weston McKennie, when he's not on form, we see him just give the ball away to the other team. Yunus Musah might try to beat somebody off the dribble and might make a mistake that'll give the ball to Wales in the midfield. And all of those mistakes could be capitalized by this Welsh team, and they could punish us for them. Then we have the US's attack, which is such a strong point for the team. Christian Pulisic will be one starter, and at striker and right wing, I'm not sure. It could be either Gio Reyna or Weah on one wing, and Jesus Ferreira or Josh Sargent up top. That's my best guess. I think Aaronson's also a possibility. We can't rule out Haji Wright. And honestly, Tim Weah up top could be an option. But I'm going to assume it's either one of our usual strikers and Weah or Reyna on the wing. Pulisic is just such a good player. He can run at the defense and create chances. I think I'd have an over-under on him winning at least 5 free kicks for the U.S. He's going to be a constant threat for us. He's a player who puts fear in Wales. I think he'll constantly get the better of Connor Roberts. He can definitely get the better of the center back on the right-hand side. I think if he has an amazing game, we could easily win this. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Pulisic at the World Cup. This is, 5 years in the making. We've been waiting for this. On the right, I think I'd like to see Tim Weah, and I'd probably like to have Reyna in the midfield. I think Reyna's probably likely to start. He's such a creative player. We can see him make a ton of goal threats. He's probably our best guy on set pieces. He can cut inside and score. He can make things happen by taking on defenders. And I think just such a talented player, probably the most talented player on the field for us. Then Tim Weah is dangerous. He's got such good movement, getting in behind the defense. He's probably the most consistent crosser on the team from that right-hand side. He can also pop up with goals despite not being left-footed. He's not cutting on his stronger foot. He's still making goals happen from the right. Honestly, with the national team, I think he's been as good as Pulisic lately, though I think Pulisic's the better player. But Weah is such a good option. Then we have Josh Sargent and Hayes Ferreira. I think they'll both be playing in a similar way. They're probably both going to drop into the midfield a bit, and I don't think that's the best idea for this team. I think having them stretch the defense would definitely help and trying to get him behind. But there's a chance that they can drop in, carry a defender with them, and create gaps for either Pulisic or Weah to run him behind. Though Wales might be sitting so deep that there won't be enough space to exploit. And I think there's a good chance that we have to make our chances by just having individuals have great moments. I'm confident in Pulisic taking on Connor Roberts and getting himself some space. Then we can see Tim Weah doing something special, Gio Reyna doing something special, Sergiño Dest, Yunus Musah. I think that's what's going to have to happen. And when they do that and when we get an opportunity, we're going to have a Josh Sargent or Hayes Ferreira finish off that chance. I think I feel more confident in Josh Sargent's ability to score. He can score against those low Premier League, high championship level opposition. And Hayes Ferreira, he's really been weak in front of goal lately. I don't think that he's actually a striker. I think he's more of a 10 naturally. But either way, I think they will have some chances, and they might be able to score them and win us this game. I think the U.S. will need to be at their best to win, though. Everybody needs to be good in possession and move the ball quick enough to break down this Welsh defense. And our attack has to be creative enough to make those dangerous runs and move off the ball enough to create the confusion of that Welsh defense. We have to make sure that we are doing those creative things, and I think my real concern is that our defense won't be able to move the ball quick enough. If we have players like Yedlin, Long, or Zimmerman on the ball too much, that could kill all the momentum in our attacks and allow Wales to reset, rendering all those movement, it could just waste all of it. In addition, any mistakes in the midfield could be punished with a counterattack that our defense might not be able to keep up with, especially if Jedi Robinson is far up the field. So we have to make sure that we're ready to play, and we have to make sure we make all of our chances count because we need to be able to score. I think in a player-to-player comparison, the U.S. is the better team. I think in goal, Matt Turner, Danny Ward, I think it's about equal. I think Matt Turner's the better player, but Danny Ward's coming in good form, and Turner hasn't been playing that much and is dealing with an injury. I think at center back, Wales is far superior with guys like Ben Davies, Mepham, Ethan Ampadu. I like them a lot more than even if we were at our best with Tim Ream and Cameron Carter-Vickers, which we won't be. At fullback, I think we're much stronger. I really like Jedi Robinson and Sergiño Dest, though if DeAndre Yedlin is forced to play, I think it becomes about equal. The midfield, we are much better. Aaron Ramsey, we know that he, at his best, he probably would have been the best midfielder on the team, but he isn't. And McKennie's shown that he's better than him. And then add Musah to that, and I think Musah's a better midfielder than Ethan Ampadu. Then just having the extra man in the midfield, that really helps. And attack, I think, is probably equal. They do have Gareth Bale as an X factor, but I think Pulisic at this point is close enough to Bale's quality-wise that I don't think it's that much of a difference. I think that we do have more talent. If I had to give my prediction for this game, I think Wales is more likely to win. They've played in a ton of major tournaments recently and have the experience. I think our young players might struggle under the bright lights of the World Cup, and to be honest, we've got a pretty weak group of veterans at this tournament, and I feel pretty good about Wales's group of guys who have experience on the field like Gareth Bale, Aaron Ramsey, and even guys who have a ton of experience who aren't that good of players like a Chris Gunter and Johnny Williams, helping them off the bench, as opposed to our depth pieces who, Sean Johnson, he's been there a lot, but he doesn't really have major tournament experience. Christian Rodon, I think he's more of like a grad assistant than anything. Like, I don't really like our veterans. I think Wales will be much more ready for this huge stage. And in addition, I think they're better tactically. I think that they're set up in a way that gets the strength out of their center backs and their lethal attack, which are great on the counter, as opposed to us, who I think will be trying to keep the ball in possession, but we really don't move players off the ball as much as we should. I think we'll do a lot of long balls in behind that the defense will be able to win, and I think Wales will be able to get us on the counter. Now, there is a pretty clear path for the U.S. to win. I've mentioned before, all we need to do is move the ball quickly, draw those Welsh players out of position, and finish our chances. And in addition, Matt Turner has made some amazing saves for us. And aside from Gareth Bale, I'm not sure about anybody as a finisher. Brennan Johnson's good, but he's not lethal. Daniel James is my go-to example of athletic winger with no end product. And Kieffer Moore, he's good, but he's, like, again, a low Premier League, high championship level player. And if Matt Turner's at his best, I feel great about us as our chances. But if he's not, then it could be pretty tough. There's definitely a path for us to win, and I think just like the friendly we had against Wales in 2020, it's going to be a very even matchup, and I'm excited to see us play. And overall, I'm just really looking forward to this game no matter what happens. It's going to be the first time we've seen the U.S. at the World Cup since 2014. Like, I wasn't even in high school by the last time we played in the World Cup. Like, it's going to be amazing, and, like, I'm really looking forward to seeing this game. It's going to be really fun, and yeah, I'm looking forward to covering it. The World Cup's going to be great soon. I've got a really fun video that I'm looking at putting out tomorrow, and yes, I'll talk right now. See ya.